Unseen love, Black Maid Marries homeless man, guests laugh until incredible truth is revealed. Clara felt the heat of the sun on her skin as she stepped out of the sprawling mansion where she had worked tirelessly for over a decade. The manicured lawns and white picket fences of the suburban town glimmered around her, promising a perfect life she always felt was just out of reach. Today, she caught a fleeting glimpse of it during her lunch break, a moment when she could breathe, if only for a second. It was then she saw him, Jake, sitting on a park bench, hunched and rugged, his hopeful eyes contrasting against the bright green of the grass. Their eyes locked, igniting a spark of understanding that both had been missing. As Clara walked towards him, she could feel the weight lifted. She introduced herself, and as they talked, the world faded away. Jake, with his battles etched on his face, shared about his time in the service, his heart heavy with memories of brothers lost. With each word exchanged, Clara felt a kindness wrapping around them, like a warm, inviting blanket. Their friendship flourished amidst shared silences and gentle laughter. For once, Clara found someone who saw her, really saw her. Not the maid, but Clara, the woman with dreams of love, respect, and freedom. And in the city's chaotic parks, Jake discovered a spark of hope he thought long extinguished. Their bond grew stronger, like roots intertwining in the ground. Each day they stole together felt like a victory against a world that judged too quickly. But then came the day Clara's wedding was to take place. The air was thick with excitement but also with unease. Her affluent employers buzzed around, oblivious to the storm brewing within her. As she slipped into her gown, anticipation collided with fear. What if they saw Jake like everyone else? When Jake walked through the grand doors, dressed in borrowed clothes that hung loosely from his frame, the laughter that erupted cut through the air like a knife. Clara's heart sank, the sound of snickers ringing in her ears. Yet, resolute, she shot him a glance filled with unwavering support. Together they stood against the tide of judgment, Clara's heart swelling with determination. But just as the celebration swirled around them, a bombshell dropped. Jake wasn't just an underprivileged man, he was the long-lost son of a respected community leader who had vanished nearly a decade prior. Gasps filled the room, turning ridicule into astonishment. Suddenly, Clara and Jake were at the center of a shifting narrative. The ridicule ebbed, replaced by a hesitant admiration. Would the luxury of the elite be strong enough to swallow their prejudices? Clara's heart raced. Would she fight for their right to love openly, or would societal norms tear them apart? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the wedding day lingered in tense anticipation, Clara felt hope sparkling amid the chaos. Love, in its rawest and most undeniable form, had walked through those doors. But with it came the weight of cultures divided. Could they transcend this chasm? The crowd shifted, whispers filled the air, and Clara's heart thudded with uncertainty. The moment hung heavy as they stood together at that crossover of love and societal perceptions, staring down an uncertain path ahead. Clara's mind raced as whispers filled the air, wrapping around her like a storm cloud threatening rain. She felt the weight of judgment from the guests who had once only seen her as a maid, and now glanced at Jake with newfound intrigue. Each murmur reminded her of the societal barriers that loomed between them. But standing beside Jake, she found a rare strength. He was no longer just a homeless man, he was the embodiment of resilience, the man she loved. Jake's expression was a storm of concern and confusion. He sensed the shift in energy, detected the gaze of people who moments before had laughed at him. "Clara," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, but she placed a hand over his. There was no need for words. They had faced the demons of the world together before, and they could do it again. "Just a minute," Clara said, her voice steady, drawing deeper from the reservoir of courage she had discovered in their friendship. She turned to face their guests, the crowd of elegant gowns swaying with disbelief. You think you know what love looks like, but you only see what you want to see. Love is not confined to the pages of neat little stories. It's messy, real, and it doesn't care about social status. Gasps echoed through the room as Clara's words cut through the air, igniting a fire within. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but she didn't waver. Emotion surged as she wrapped her fingers around Jake's. Together they felt the warmth of sharing their truth amidst judgment. Please, she managed, her voice trembling but resolute, look beyond the surface. Look at what we've found in each other. That moment unfolded like an unplanned symphony. The crowd moved, tension fading into something close to acceptance. She caught Jake's eye, and in it, she saw a flicker of hope spring back to life. As Clara spoke about their struggles, about Jake's past, about moments that had transformed him from a soldier to a man living on the edge of despair, the rich tapestry of their journey painted a picture of love that was universally relatable. She revealed how their moments together had become her refuge, where laughter replaced her loneliness. For the first time, laughter shifted from mockery to admiration. The whispers turned into encouraging murmurs, a sensation of shift in the crowd ebbing away the crippling judgment. Clara felt the air change, hope began to wrap around them both like a hug from the universe. Could it be that real love had the power to transform? Jake took a step forward, his heart racing as he spoke for the first time to the crowd. You see me now not just as a man down on his luck, but as a son, and a friend. I've lived in shadows too long. Clara taught me to believe I could step into the light. His eyes glistened with unshed tears as he addressed Clara again. I will fight for us. I will always fight for us. Clara's heart swelled, her cheeks damp from the tears falling freely now. It was the most she could ask for, a vow forged in love and determination. Slowly, applause broke out, spreading among those who truly began to see. Yet among the rising tide of acceptance, one question loomed: the community leader they once knew, Jake's father, was still missing. What would happen if he returned? Would Clara and Jake's love stand the tests that lay ahead? As night fell and the air filled with anticipation, a quiet phone buzzed in Clara's pocket. The screen lit up, revealing a message that made her heart skip a beat. There was a lead about Jake's father. What if that man did return? Would love be enough? In that moment of uncertainty, Clara felt a shiver run down her spine. The next chapter of their story was unfolding, and it could change everything. Clara's heart raced as she stared at her phone, the screen still glowing under the dim lights of the room. The message was simple, just a few words, yet it carried the weight of the world. I know where he is. Call me. Jake's hand was warm in hers, yet she felt a coldness creeping in, overshadowing their moment of triumph. She looked at him, his expression caught between hope and anxiety. He sensed the shift in her demeanor. What's wrong? He asked, his voice laced with concern. It's about your father, Clara breathed, summoning all her courage. I got a lead on where he might be. Jake's eyes widened, a whirlwind of emotions flashing across his face. After all this time he is still out there? I think so, Jake. I don't know if it will change things or make them worse. The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Would Jake's father accept them? Or would he bring back pain they had tried so hard to escape? Before Jake could respond, a ripple of silence spread through the room, pulling their attention. The crowd slowly grew quiet, many still processing Clara's earlier speech, but now an unease began to settle in. Whispers swirled again, but this time out of curiosity rather than scorn. Eyes darted toward the door, where shadows moved, silhouettes loomed, and the tension lay thick like fog. Clara could almost hear the collective breaths being held, a mix of intrigue and apprehension filled the air. Maybe we should go, she suggested softly, squeezing Jake's hand tighter. We can talk about this somewhere private. Wait, he said, firm but gentle. This is our moment. We've just shown them what love looks like. We can't let fear take over now. His determination lit a spark in Clara, but anxiety still coiled in her stomach. She swallowed, searching for clarity. Would they still stand together if the past came knocking? Just then, the door swung open. A figure stepped inside, and the crowd gasped collectively. Clara's heart plummeted as she recognized the man Jake's father, rugged and worn, yet with a defiance etched into his features that mirrored Jake's dad. Jake's voice broke the stunned silence, a tremor of disbelief cutting through. "What are you doing here?" The man's gaze scanned the room before landing on his son. Clara took a step back, letting their connection play out without trying to interfere. She could feel Jake's tension radiating off him like heat from a flame. "I came to find you," his father replied, voice gravelly, but clearer than Clara expected. "I heard what you said. I want to understand." Clara held her breath. The moment hung delicately in the balance. Would understanding mean acceptance? Or would they plunge deep into old wounds that had barely begun to heal? Jake took a deep breath, preparing to confront a past that had shaped him into the man she loved. Clara stood beside him, their hands still joined, their promise glowing brightly. Even in the face of uncertainty, the crowd watched, rapt with attention, eager to witness the outcome of this unexpected reunion. Clara's mind raced ahead, imagining the words Jake would hurl into the chasm of their history. And as the air vibrated with tension, Clara thought about how love could shift the impossible, but what if it couldn't bridge the gaps of family? Could Jake and his father truly reconnect after so much pain? In that heavy moment, Clara felt the weight of her own thoughts. She fought against the budding worries, knowing they would face this together. But a deeper question loomed: what if acceptance wasn't enough to heal the rift between them? As Jake's father stepped further into the room, Clara could feel the echoes of their past resonating around them. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown to an unknown future, as she asked herself, would love endure the truth that was about to unfold? Jake's father stepped cautiously into the room, his weathered face betraying uncertainty. Clara felt the weight of history hanging heavy in the air. It was as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, bracing for what would come next. "Dad," Jake began, but the words seemed to stick in his throat. Clara squeezed his hand tighter, a silent promise of support. She knew this was a moment that could either forge a new bond or break them apart all over again. "I messed up, son," his father interrupted, voice cracking under the pressure of unspoken regrets. "I didn't know how to be there for you. I thought leaving would make things better, but it didn't." His eyes glistened with unshed tears, and something soft flickered in Jake's expression. Clara took a hesitant step closer, unsure of her role in this family drama unfolding. "Did you hear what we said? We're trying to move forward," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "I came here to see if you really meant it," his father said, eyes trained on Jake, a fierce desperation behind them. "I've spent my life running from my mistakes. But you're not my mistake, Jake. I want to know who you are now." There was a long pause as Jake processed his father's words. Clara could feel the air thickening with tension. She could see the conflicting emotions churning in his chest, the yearning for acceptance, the fear of betrayal. "Why should I believe you now?" Jake finally asked, his voice low but steady. You abandoned Mom and me." "I was weak," his father replied, shame carving deep lines on his face. "I let my fears control me, and I didn't think of you or how much I hurt you. I know it's not enough, but I want to make it right. If you'll let me." Jake swallowed hard, glancing down at Clara, who gave him an encouraging nod. This wasn't just about him, it was about them, about healing and building. She hadn't lived Jake's pain, but she could feel it tear through him like a storm. "I don't know if I can just forgive you," Jake finally responded, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not that easy." "I don't expect it to be," his father said, voice thick with emotion. "I just needed to try. I can't undo what I've done, but if you give me a chance, I want to be there for you this time, for real. Clara held her breath, sensing the enormity of the decision before Jake. The room was silent, every pair of eyes was glued to the father-son standoff. It was a moment of truth, shaping the future of their relationship. A flicker of hope shimmered in Jake's eyes, mingling with overwhelming doubt. He took a deep breath, then released it slowly, weighing the possibilities. Could they genuinely rebuild what had been lost? "Let us start with baby steps," Jake finally said, surprising even himself. "But you'll have to prove you're different. No more running, no more hiding." A breath of relief escaped Clara as the tension in Jake's shoulders eased, just a notch. She could see the spark of possibility illuminating the shadows of their past. "Absolutely," his father replied, a hint of newfound resolve in his voice. "Whatever it takes, I'm here." Clara could feel the atmosphere shifting, a sense of reconciliation blossoming among the uncertainty. Yet, questions still swirled in her mind. Would Jake's heart truly have room for this fragile new beginning? And what would it mean for their love if they tried to embrace a past that had brought them so much pain? Before she could voice her concerns, a familiar face appeared in the doorway. To her shock, it was Jake's mother. Barely a heartbeat later, she froze in place, eyes wide with disbelief. "David? What are you doing here?" She gasped, and Clara's pulse quickened as the impending storm threatened to unleash itself anew. In that fractured moment, the past rushed back, and Clara couldn't help but wonder what chaos would follow this unforeseen reunion. Would the fragile peace hold, or would old wounds rip open once again? Jake's mother took a step back, her eyes flickering between Jake and his father. The silence felt like a thick fog, wrapping around them, suffocating and bewildering. Clara's heart pounded as she sensed the tension rising. She had prepared for many things today, but not this. "Why are you here, David?" His mother's voice was barely above a whisper, an edge of both anger and confusion threading through her words. Tears glimmered in her eyes, a storm of emotions that had clearly been brewing beneath the surface for years. "I came to see Jake, to apologize," his father replied, his voice strained but firm. The response hung in the air, heavy and loaded with consequences. "What could you possibly say that could change anything?" she retorted, her tone sharp enough to cut through the tension. "You left us. You chose to walk away, and now you think an apology can fix it?" "Mom, please," Jake interjected, his voice surprisingly steady. "I want to hear what he has to say." "Jake, no," his mother pleaded, stepping closer to him, urgency lacing her words. "You don't know what he is capable of." "Neither do you," Jake shot back, a fierceness in his eyes that Clara hadn't seen before. It was a spark that told her he was fighting for something more than just reconnection, he was standing up for himself. "I just want a chance," his father urged, desperation spilling from the edges of his words. "I've been running too long. I'm not the man I was. I want to grow, to be better for you. But I need you to want this too." Jake's mother shook her head, disbelief etched on her face. "You think you can just walk back into our lives after all these years? What about all the damage you caused? The heartbreak?" The air crackled with old wounds. Clara could feel the history thrumming beneath each line of dialogue, the thick tension only deepening. All she wanted was to reach out, to comfort, to hold the shattered pieces of this family together. "I know I can't erase the past," his father replied softly. "But I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right." "Jake? I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to show you who I can be." Jake's eyes darted between his father and mother like a pendulum caught in a whirlwind. Clara squeezed his hand, urging him to ground himself in the emotions swirling around him. "This isn't just about us," Jake finally said, voice firm but wavering at the edges. "We can't pretend it's easy. But maybe we can figure it out together?" A silence fell, and Clara held her breath. Could they really rebuild? Could the foundations of their fragmented family hold against this new strain? His mother crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. I don't know if you deserve to come back. Not after what you did. I know I have to earn it, David replied earnestly, every second of the day. I'm willing to try if you give me that chance. The confrontation felt like a tightrope, every word could tip the balance one way or the other. Jake appeared torn, pulled between the longing for a connection and the rightful anger he felt for his father's past. Let's take it slow, Jake finally said, glancing at his mother, then back at his father. We don't have to rush into anything, but let's not close the door either. Clara's heart swelled with hope, but it was a fragile hope. It was clear that this was just a beginning, a mere flicker of light in the darkness that had surrounded them for years. But then, as if summoned by the tension, the door creaked open again. Another figure stepped inside, someone Clara had never expected to see, a childhood friend of Jake's, a familiar face that brought a wave of unexpected memories crashing back. Jake? Sorry, they stammered, eyes widening at the family drama unfolding. Clara felt the atmosphere shift once more, uncertain cracks threatening this fragile moment they had just begun to navigate. What new truths or troubles could this unexpected arrival bring to an already tangled reunion? The figure at the door stood frozen, a mixture of surprise and recognition flickering across their face. Clara could feel the tension ramping up again. It was Michael, Jake's childhood friend, once inseparable from him and now standing in the doorway as if he had stumbled upon a treacherous cliff. Hey, Michael finally managed, his gaze darting from Jake to David, then back again. It was like watching a tennis match. What's going on? Jake's voice broke the silence. It's complicated. Complicated, didn't he cover it? Clara silently urged him to keep talking, to explain. Might wanna sit down, Michael said with a nervous chuckle, but Clara sensed he didn't find it funny at all. I think we just need a moment, Jake's mother interjected, her voice taut like a string ready to snap. Actually, maybe you all need to hear this together, Michael said, stepping further into the room, a revelation weighing heavily on his shoulders. I wasn't just passing by. I was at the coffee shop around the corner when I overheard some things, about David. His words hung heavy, thickening the air. David shifted uneasily, and Jake looked at Michael, both curiosity and apprehension dancing in his eyes. Clara could feel her heartbeat quicken, wondering what secrets were about to unravel. Michael took a breath, steadying himself. I heard someone mentioning your dad. There's something going on, something he hasn't said. What do you mean? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. It's about the past, things you don't know. Michael glanced at Clara and then back at Jake. I didn't know if I should say anything, but honestly, it felt wrong to let it slide. There are reservations about his intentions, you know? Your mom deserves to know too. Clara's heart raced. The tension between Jake and his father intensified as understanding washed over Jake's face. What do you mean, reservations? Michael took another deep breath. I wish I didn't have to say this, but some people are saying he's not just back to be a dad. That there's more things that could hurt not just you, but your mom as well. A deep silence painfully rolled in, each second echoing through the room, thick with uncertainty. Jake swallowed hard, and Clara's heart sank as images of old wounds bubbling back to the surface filled her mind. She saw the worry etched on Jake's face, the fight in his resolve beginning to waver. I'm not trying to stir things up, I just thought you ought to know, Michael added, stepping back, sensing the intensity coiling like a snake ready to strike. Jake's mother looked at David, her expression a storm of betrayal and fear. What else haven't you told us? David, for his part, remained still, like a deer caught in headlights. I understand why you'd think that. I was gone, I messed up, he said, his voice encountering a sudden tremor. But I'm not that man anymore. I swear. How can we make sure of that? Jake questioned, his voice cracking just at the edges. You want us to trust you? But before David could muster a response, the tension shattered. Clara stepped forward instinctively, an urge to protect bubbling up inside her. What is it you're really after, David? Is it truly us, or is there something else driving you? All eyes turned to David, a heavy weight pressing expectantly upon him. His expression shifted slightly, vulnerability breaking through the tough facade he had cloaked himself in. The truth felt near, floating just beyond reach. What was the reality hiding behind David's return? Clara sensed a storm brewing, one that could either break or bond this splintered family together. As Jake and his father locked eyes, she knew, whatever was about to be revealed could change everything. Would it be a thread binding them closer or the one that would snap this fragile reunion? The room pulsed with a tense silence, heavy as fog, pressing down on everyone. Jake's eyes bore into David's, searching for an answer that felt elusive. Clara's breath faltered, the stakes creeping higher with every heartbeat. I came back, David started, but his voice was shaky, threading through the air like a broken wire. I came back to fix things. I didn't expect it would lead me back to you. To fix things? Jake echoed, disbelief lining his voice. What does that even mean? You vanished. You broke us, and now you just show up. Why should we trust anything you say? Michael shifted uncomfortably, sensing the weight on the air. Maybe it's not just about fixing things, Jake. Maybe there's more at play here. More? Jake repeated, frustration mounting. What does that mean? You guys are making this so much worse. Perhaps it was the sheer desperation in Jake's voice that hit David. He took a step forward, swallowing hard. I was involved in something that I can't explain fully just yet. It's complicated. I thought I could come back and what? Clara interjected, stepping closer to Jake, who looked on the verge of breaking down. Live like nothing happened? You think showing up is enough? David glanced at Jake's mother, who wore a mask of shocked disbelief, then back at Clara, his eyes pleading. I want to protect you all. That's why I came back. It's why I need to tell you the truth. What truth? Jake's voice cut through the air, raw and open. What could possibly justify everything we went through? The question hung there, heavy and potent. David's hands trembled, and Clara felt the room shrink around them, making each breath feel scarce. His struggle was evident, a lifetime of unspoken words tangled inside him. Years ago, I got involved with some people who weren't just shady. They were dangerous. I thought I could handle it. I was trying to make money to give you all what you deserved, but it spiraled out of control. I didn't think they'd come after me, let alone my family. David's voice faltered, his eyes glazed, distant memories clearly flooding back. Is that why you left? Jake asked, disbelief mixing with a hint of understanding. Jake, I thought it would keep you safe. I was wrong. David's hands clenched into fists at his sides, his remorse surfacing like a terrible wound. Jake stared, tension radiating from him, battling with a combination of anger and heartbreak. So you thought just disappearing would solve everything? No. David cried, desperation making him feel bigger than the room. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was sparing you from something terrible. And there it was, Clara thought, an echo of the father Jake had remembered, layered with regret and longing. But that could easily fade, replaced by a fierce instinct to protect. What do we do with this? Clara said softly, her heart aching for Jake. Nothing will be reset just because you say it'll be okay. David's gaze shifted toward her, the weight of the world reflected in his deep-set eyes. I'm here now, and I promise I'll do everything I can to protect you all. But I need you to trust me. I can't fight this battle alone. Trust. The word reverberated around the room, a challenge lingering in the air. Clara's chest tightened at the thought. Could they genuinely believe him? Jake clenched his jaw, wrestling with his emotions. What does that even mean for us? Can we believe you now? Before David could reply, the door creaked open again, spilling a rush of cold air into the charged space. All eyes turned to the newcomer, the surprised gasp from Michael signaling something shocking. Clara's stomach knotted, a sense of dread creeping in. A woman stood at the doorway, her face pale but determined, a stark contrast to the atmosphere thick with turmoil. As her eyes flitted around the room, Clara sensed another layer of complexity unfurling. "Am I too late?" she asked, her voice tremulous yet resolute. The tension shifted again, prickling at Clara's skin. What new revelation lay ahead? Would this stranger be the key to unraveling the truth, or would she shatter everything finally put back together? Clara could only hold her breath, waiting for the storm that was about to break. The room felt electric as everyone's gaze fell on the woman at the door. Clara's instincts screamed for her to guard herself and Jake, yet there was an undeniable magnetism around this stranger. The woman inhaled sharply, steadying herself before stepping inside. "I know you don't remember me," she said, her voice a blend of vulnerability and resolve, "but I'm Emily." You were his accomplice," Jake spat, his anger flaring as he stepped protectively in front of Clara. "What do you want?" "Jake, please," David interjected, his tone urgent. "Let her speak." Emily's eyes flashed, filled with something like sadness. "I didn't come here for confrontation. I came because it's important. You all deserve to know the truth." "The truth?" Clara echoed, her brows furrowing in suspicion. She crossed her arms, a barrier against whatever revelations were about to unfold. "And you think you have it?" "Yes," Emily replied, her voice firm despite the growing tension. David's involvement was deeper than he realized. "We were trying to escape something bad, a threat no one could see at the time. I thought we left it behind, but I've learned otherwise. It's coming back, and it's worse than before." David's face paled. "You shouldn't be here." "I know, David," Emily cut him off, urgency lacing her words. "They're already on to you. I had to risk everything to warn us." Jake interrupted, disbelief etched into his expression. "As if we could trust anything you say after all of this?" "I get it." "Really," Emily said, casting a glance at Clara, who felt an unexpected pang of sympathy. "But please, just listen. There's a bigger picture. What you're dealing with isn't just some past life. It's here, and it's ready to destroy everything you care about." Clara felt a cold rush dance down her spine. The room had transformed from a storm of emotions into a precarious battlefield where trust was a luxury they could no longer afford. "What do you mean, it's here? What do they want?" Emily took a breath, clearly struggling with the weight of her words. "They want revenge. They want to make sure David suffers, and they'll go after you, too. Those of you who matter to him. I knew it was risky reaching out, but you need to prepare." "And how do we prepare?" Jake asked, his voice quieter now, tinged with fear. The protective armor he had worn moments ago seemed to crack slightly, revealing vulnerability. "By knowing your enemy," Emily replied, urgency driving her forward. "Finding out what they know, who's involved, and gathering allies." "Allies?" Clara said incredulously. "You expect us to just take your word for this? We barely know you." "I know," Emily said, her voice breaking slightly. "But you have to believe me. The more time we waste, the harder it will get. We need to face this together." David stepped closer to Emily, the fierce anger in his eyes giving way to confusion. "How did you even find us?" Her expression softened for a moment, as if she understood David's struggle. "I never stopped looking. Your family was my last hope, and they deserve to be protected." Clara's mind raced. A battle was brewing, one that threatened their fragile makeup. She exchanged a glance with Jake, who appeared torn between his instinct to shield their family and the undeniable urge to learn more. "What do you know about them?" Clara's voice came out steadier than she felt. Emily met her gaze. Let us find a place outside of here. It's not safe for any of us to stay. David turned to Jake, his face lined with determination. Jake, we have to trust her. We can't pretend this is going away. Jake studied his father's face, flickers of acknowledgement shining through his anger. Fine, he said finally, but Clara could feel the walls still standing between them. But if anything goes wrong at 1T, David interrupted, resolve hardening his voice. We're doing this together. No more secrets. As they moved to leave, Clara felt her heart racing. If Emily's words rang true, they were heading into peril, and for once, the implications did not just weigh on their shoulders, they could threaten to crush everything they held. Dear, but would trusting this woman unlock the door to their salvation, or would it lead them into the dark abyss they had tried to escape? With each step they took away from the chaotic energy of the room, Clara sensed the gravity of their decisions ahead. Their world could change in an instant. Just as they neared the door, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway behind them. Wait! Emily exclaimed, as the tension surged again. We're not alone. What danger awaited them now? Clara strained her ears, the chilling realization settling that their fight might just be beginning. Clara's heart raced as the footsteps drew nearer. She could feel the weight of Emily's words, amplifying the fear flooding her mind. They were suddenly thrust into a world that felt both surreal and terrifying. She exchanged a quick glance with Jake, who still stood tense and defensive, his fists clenched at his sides. Who's there? Jake called out, breaking the suffocating silence that filled the hallway. With every passing moment, the footsteps grew louder, echoing off the walls like a countdown to a disaster. Clara felt sweat bead at her brow. She wanted to scream for them to run or to hide, but there was no time for hesitation. They had to face whatever was coming. Stay close to me, David instructed, stepping between Clara and the shadows in the hallway. His voice was steadier than Clara felt. The footsteps stopped abruptly, then, from the dim light, emerged two figures, a man and a woman. The man was tall and broad-shouldered, with an intensity in his gaze that made Clara's blood run cold. The woman, thin and nervous, seemed to cling to him for support. Emily's face paled at the sight of them. Troy Sarah, she murmured, her voice laced with fear. Clara could see the tremor in Emily's hands, the same person who only moments ago had exuded courage. Look who it is, Troy said, a smirk curling his lips. The beautiful little family, gathered together for a little chat. Shouldn't you be hiding, Emily? He continued, his mocking tone sending shivers down Clara's spine. We've come to settle some unfinished business. What do you want? David demanded, his voice firm, but Clara could hear the wavering underneath. She felt a new level of danger looming above them, one that threatened not only their family but their very lives. Troy stepped closer. Oh, you know exactly what I want. To finish what we started. You had your chance to walk away from this, and yet here we are, together again. There's nothing left for you here, Emily interjected, her words shaky yet defiant. We're not part of that world anymore. Oh, but that's where you're wrong, Sarah chimed in, her eyes glinting with a dangerous excitement. You see, the past has a funny way of catching up. And I think it's time everyone learned a lesson on loyalty. Clara's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She feared for her family's safety, but she also felt a fierce instinct to protect Emily. It did not escape her that Emily wasn't just a stranger, she was tied to them through David's past, and the implications were chilling. What do you mean, a lesson? Jake asked, stepping forward, the protective barrier slipping as curiosity mingled with fear. Let us just say, Troy said, you've been living in a fantasy. And your little family bubble is about to burst. He pointed a finger at Clara, a cruel smile stretching across his face. Starting with you. You think he can save you? That smirk sliced through the air, igniting panic in Clara's gut. Get away from her. Jake shouted. Looks like we have ourselves a hero, Troy laughed, advancing closer. Clara's instincts kicked in. Jake, don't. She grabbed his arm, trying to pull him back. They were outnumbered, and the thrill of adrenaline coursed through her veins like fire. Emily stepped forward, urgency radiating from her. Just take a step back. You don't understand. But before she could finish her thought, Troy lunged. A scuffle broke out, and Clara felt her heart stop. Run! David shouted as chaos erupted around them. Clara's mind flashed through endless possibilities as she turned to Jake. We have to go. In that moment, Clara knew they were not just facing physical danger. They were confronting the shadows of the past and the fragile fabric of trust that held them together. Would they find their way back to safety, or was this the moment that would unravel everything? As they bolted for the door, Clara couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay behind the darkness that awaited them. Would they survive this night unscathed, or were they about to plunge headfirst into the unknown? Clara bolted through the doorway, her heart racing like a drum, fear propelling her into the embrace of the night. Jake was right behind her, their hands clasped tightly as they sprinted down the empty hall. She could hear the scuffle of footsteps behind them, the echoes of danger closing in like a predator stalking its prey. There was no time to think, they had to escape. David and Emily followed closely as the group raced into the chill of the night, breaths heavy in the cool air. Clara felt adrenaline surge within her, but it mixed with a deep-seated worry. What if they weren't fast enough? What if their past had caught up with them, bringing chaos to the life they fought so hard to build? Where do we go? Jake's voice trembled, panting slightly, urgency etched into every word. Clara glanced around. They were near the park where she had first met him. We can't go home, she urged. What about the car? David nodded hastily, leading the way. It's parked at the edge of the lot. If we can get there, we can drive to safety. They weaved through the shadows, the moonlight barely illuminating the path ahead. Time felt distorted, each second stretched painfully long. Clara could still hear the mocking laughter of Troy ringing in her ears, a malevolent echo telling her that their struggles weren't over yet. If they find us, it could be over, Emily whispered, her voice barely a breath. Clara shot her a glance, realizing the depth of fear etched across her face. Emily had risked everything to warn them, but Clara felt uneasy. Could they trust her? Just then, a loud crash resonated from behind them, sending a wave of panic surging through the group. Hurry! David shouted, the urgency in his voice snapping them into action. They dashed toward the parked car, all thoughts of fear transcended by an unwavering need to survive. Reaching the car, David fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking. Unlock it! Unlock it! Jake cried, fixing terrified eyes on the darkness closing in. Clara could hear distant shouts, the sickening realization that they were being hunted quickened her pulse. Come on! She demanded, feeling helplessness rise within her. Finally, the doors swung open, and they all piled into the cramped space. Heart racing, Clara ducked down in the back seat, pulling Jake with her as David slammed the door shut. Go! Clara urged, her voice tense. David turned the key, and the engine roared to life. The tires squealed against the pavement as they sped away, the shadows of danger fading into a distance behind them, but not before she felt the weight of the danger lingering like a haunting whisper. As the car sped through the dark streets, the gravity of their situation began to settle. They had outrun physical danger, but the emotional aftermath loomed like a storm cloud. Where do we go now? Clara asked, her voice cracking, still holding tightly to Jake's hand. We need to regroup, David said, his voice steady yet strained. I have an old friend who might be able to help, someone who can keep us safe. Help? Emily echoed, surprise lacing her tone. What do you mean? You want to involve more people? Anyone who can provide shelter, David replied. We can't stay here. If Troy and Sarah are back, we're not safe anywhere. We need to focus. Jake's voice sliced through the tension, pulling Clara's attention. She turned to him, seeing fury and vulnerability reflecting from his eyes. I can't believe all this. We were just trying to build something real. And now? Clara touched his cheek, grounding both of them in a moment that felt real. We will find a way. We can't give up on each other. As they drove through the streets, Clara's mind spun, thoughts spiraling around the weight of their past actions. What did your father get mixed up in? She asked David suddenly, the question hanging heavily. I didn't know it would lead back to this. I thought I could escape it all. David's voice held regret, a deep sorrow that tugged at Clara's heart. But now, it's all out in the open, and I need to own it. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe, all of you. Emily nodded, determination flickering in her eyes. We have to fight for what we've built, she stated, the strength in her accents reigniting the flames of resolve within Clara. Together, Jake affirmed, and Clara felt warmth radiate from their joined hands, knowing they had each other. As they drove through the darkness, shadows faded, replaced by the glow of street lamps ahead. Clara's heart swelled with inner strength as her thoughts turned optimistic. Their journey had been tumultuous, yet they stood strong, ready to confront whatever battles awaited. Next stop, safety, Clara whispered, breathing in hope, feeling its warmth wrap around them like a lifeline. As they turned the corner, the new path emerged before them, one that promised not just survival, but a chance to thrive through the storm. They had faced the darkness together, and now they would forge a brighter future. Love could withstand anything, and as long as they stood united, they remained unstoppable. Now it's on you, dear reader. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support and keep the love alive. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. You need to share your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support fuels these stories. Your passion reflects in the love we create.